Welcome in to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, the official podcast of your New Orleans Pelicans. A podcast dedicated to everything you need to know about the squad. Hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and those who cover the NBA on a daily basis. It's time to flock up. The New Orleans Pelicans Podcast starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, your official podcast of the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm Gus Kattengell, and this is Friday, the end of the week. I'm back, unfortunately, in New Orleans. Actually, no, I'm not. Still in Nashville. Why? Because we are going to be joined by a very special guest. Super excited to introduce you to him officially. And no, I don't mean you. Jim Eichenhofer of NewOrleansPelicans.com. Not that I don't mind hanging out with you, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Gus?
I'm doing fantastic. But across from you, the man, the myth, and literally a legend, Andrew Lopez, newest member of the New Orleans Pelicans broadcast team. He will be with you on the, what is it, the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network.
There you go.
I got it right.
Outstanding.
How about that? Sir, how excited are you? Good to see you, man.
Very excited. Very excited we got this announcement in. I don't have to hide at practice anymore. I can be up front. I can ask coach questions.
Yes.
You see me on, I think, videos. I think we did one yesterday. So very excited to be here. And obviously it's a very exciting time for my family to be able to move back to New Orleans. It was 5, outstanding years at ESPN, 4 in New Orleans, 1 in San Antonio. And after that one, obviously being able a chance to come back, work on the sideline, work with Joel, work with AD, work with this whole great team that we have on the broadcast side, Aaron, Wesley Johnson. It just to be able to have all of this is, I think, great. I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to see what we're able to do for Pels fans.
I know
this year.
Jim's going to get into the particulars on how we got to this point, but you've been a guest on my show for a while now. Here where we both kind of in different roles, but we've known each other for a while. And I was just talking about with somebody, like, man, I remember you covering high school sports, college sports, got into the pro game there as well, got the big shot there nationally, and to do that, it's a cool thing from this perspective for me to see you grow and to be back here, but also I think it helps the perspective as to where this franchise is, how it is being viewed nationally, and where we are going, and how this franchise is growing. And, from, they don't really care about basketball over there, to that is not the case at all now.
You look at the level of commitment that they've put in on the broadcast side, and I know it's been this way for years, but you look at the broadcast team as it was when we had Joel, AD, and Jen. That was still ranked on numerous different websites and fan sites or whatever it was. People consider that one of the top broadcasts in the NBA.
Sure.
I mean, that shows the level of commitment that you put in when you have somebody like Joel Myers, who has won Emmy Awards for the work that he has done. Antonio Daniels, who is, in my opinion, one of the best color analysts in the game, period. Joining that is exciting. And I think the commitment with the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, the reach that we're going to have there, it's fantastic. And you mentioned, my background in high school recruiting and in colleges. All of that is going to end up being a part of Gulf Coast sports.
Yeah,
like that's not going to go away. So there's an opportunity there for us to do some unique things and grow in the high school sport area, grow with some other stuff. So it's very exciting times right now for the New Orleans Pelicans.
Andrew, I mean, it's really exciting to be able to officially unveil you and not have to hide you anymore. I feel like we had to put you in the luggage area of the bus a couple times.
I was definitely on the back of the planes all the way in the last seat, just kind of ducked down.
Get the hoodie on and everything,
One day,
sunglasses, didn't know who it was.
One day I walked onto the bus for practice, and I think he was in a disguise, and he was the bus driver. I was like, we're taking this pretty far now that we have him in this role. But
I was just glad he allowed me to wear his he bought his spare costume, his spare outfit for me. I was like, let's go, man. Let's make this work.
There was a lot of detail that went into that. but no, you touched on this a little bit in terms of your decision to come here and take this role. Can you kind of go into that a little bit more in terms of just the excitement that you have and why you thought that this was the right time for you to do this?
Yeah, so it's A lot of this is family driven. I mean, it's anybody who has followed me on social knows that this is a big time of change in my family. My wife and I, we got married last year, and we are now expecting baby Lopez coming up in January or maybe December if I get my wish. But it's one of those things where it's the opportunity was right, and it presented itself at the right time, and I think that was the key. It wasn't anything where I was unhappy at ESPN. And let me just say this, and I think I've said it before. ESPN was fantastic throughout this process. There was some contract things that we had to kind of get through, but when I explained it was, a family-driven matter. I'm from New Orleans. My wife is from New Orleans. And let me get this. It's not just because I'm having a kid. I want to come home. Let me find a way in. It's let's find the right opportunity. And when this presented itself, it's like, well, this is perfect. This is a great chance to get into a new space that, quite honestly, I never thought I would be in, even years ago. I mean, when I was back at Loyola in 2004 in my Mass Comm 101 class. It's not Syracuse 101, Mass Comm 101, but it's up there.
I didn't go to Syracuse, by the way. I went to Ithaca College, but another great school. But that's another topic for another day.
When I got to Mass Comm 101, we had to do it was basically like do your project for whatever you want to do. Okay. So if you were going to be a PR major, you had to make a PR thing, whatever.
Sure.
I and Blake Simon, who's on the ticket side.
Yes, Blake. Good dude.
He was a classmate of mine in this 101 class. We made like a pardon the interruption, segment. I am very happy to announce that is nowhere to be found, and you cannot find that. Hopefully, not anywhere on any of it's gone from.
The tapes
existence.
Have been burned. Yep.
I realized then, I don't know if I want to do this TV thing, because when it came time to watch that tape in front of the class, I almost had a breakdown. I had to go step outside the class. I was like, nope, TV's not for me. I don't want to watch people watch me. It took years for me to kind of develop that, and it was kind of funny because one of the first stations that really helped me get back into that was Fox 8. And so it was doing things with Fox 8, going on, doing final, and getting there where it was like, all right, I'm comfortable with this. A few years doing that, and all of a sudden it's ESPN. Like, you're going from this to this.
Yep.
So that's kind of where this is kind of going. And now it's like, okay, TV every night. Let's get it done. So it's been quite the journey so far.
You mentioned Joel and Antonio, and I mean, like you said, a bunch of different websites, broadcasting websites. When they do their rankings, they're always in the top tier of the league. I think both of those guys, when they travel, get compliments from fans of other teams that watch them on League Pass. But how much are you looking forward to working with those guys as far as even the relationship that you already have with them of being around the Pelicans for quite a while?
It's been a great relationship that I've developed over the years, and I think that is going to help us going into this. It's not bringing in a new face who hasn't, gone to dinner with Joel Myers,
right?
Spent time talking basketball with Antonio Daniels at a number of games. I mean, you guys see it.
Sure.
And AD and I are sitting courtside, with Will Guillory, Christian, whoever else is there. We're sitting there for 30, 45 minutes talking before games sometimes, kind of just seeing.
That's kind of tradition, isn't it? Yeah. You sit right there courtside during pregame, and we kind of go over different things.
Yeah, we see sights, we see everything. AD's right there with us. We go, sometimes we go back and if we go get something to eat. So having that relationship already built in with these guys, it's only going to help, and it's for a guy coming into this kind of a little new to it's a different role. Having that relationship built up is only going to help.
And just a fair warning, he's going to have you do all kind of new employees sort of things. I wouldn't call it hazing. I don't want legal to get involved or anything, but it's you will carry bags.
Yeah,
I
did have to carry Jim's bag yesterday. I was
absolutely.
I was like, he made it like, I hurt my shoulder.
Yeah. When he says, "What are we having for dinner?" that means you're making the reservations. I learned that my first year here as well. Yeah, it's expected when he walks into an establishment. It's Mr. Eichenhofer. It's already ready. Just a little heads up.
You know, the funny thing about that is, ironically, that's actually very true for Joel Myers. when you were everywhere he goes,
Joel will get you in places. I'm just telling you.
I can attest to that. Yes.
We were on the road in New York City going back a bunch of years, and he walked into this one Italian place, and they were like, "Joel, where have you been?" And I swear, I think they think he lives in New York City. Because they hadn't seen him, they thought he's there all the time. So but they didn't realize that he lives in New Orleans. That checks out.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. He's probably been there, a million times over the years. Another thing I wanted to ask you about was going back to 2019. I was there in Chicago.
Next to you.
Yeah, that's right. And I was sitting. I think Will Guillory was there. Yep. Can you kind of go through the story of how the 2019 lottery changed everything for you?
Changing everything is a complete understatement. That I think that lottery was May 12th or May 13th. It was around there. Should know if it's May 13th. It's my brother's birthday. I think it was not May 13th.
Maybe a little later.
I think it was the 12th or the 14th or something like that. I think But I remember not even 2 weeks ahead of that was when we got a call to come down to the Times-Picayune office, and there was an announcement made that the Advocate was buying us out. And the week and a half after that was very unclear what was happening. Was it going to be a true merger? Was it going to be just a buyout? How was that going to go down? And my job status was very much in doubt at that point. It's fair. It happens in those types of situations.
Sure. Yeah. Newspapers is a rough business these days,
So when we went to the lottery, I remember I'm sitting next to Will Guillory's on my right. Jim Eichenhofer is on my left, and I think there's other NBA writers around us. But that's the little tiny Pelicans contingent for our little 6% chance sitting over here. You got there was everybody. Oh, you got your 25. Whoever was because it was a 25% odds at that point. It was at the first year of 20.
It was the first year that they changed it to. I think it's 14%.
So your 14%ers are in the front, if you will. And we're just the three of us just kind of hanging in the back. Oh man, this would be.
Can you imagine? Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they get 4. Like a 4 would be nice.
Yeah.
Like jump up to 4, 3. They take 2. Damn, I got to get a 1. And those envelopes start coming out. And I remember it was a double jump. Like when Pels went up, it was a double jump. I think it was a double jump with Memphis. I think Memphis was right behind. It was a double jump.
The Lakers, I think, also jumped into the top 4 that year. Yep.
So, but in the odds, it went from like team 10 to team 7, or something like that.
Just like that.
So you're like, everybody's like, oh, Memphis jumped up, and I'm like, oh, New Orleans jumped up, and then again, 4 would be nice, 3 would be nice.
Yeah.
And I remember when they pulled, you could still find the tweet when they pulled the Memphis Grizzlies out of the envelope number 2. I grabbed Will Guillory's arm. He may still have marks. Because I was
healing.
Yeah. I was like, I kept saying, Jim can attest to this. I kept saying, somebody's going to hire me. Somebody's going to hire me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have a job. I remember tweeting something to the effect of, if you need somebody to cover Zion, hire me.
Yeah.
That also during that trip, I saw Mark Spears, formerly of the Undefeated, now of Vanscape. It's just a name change under ESPN's brand. And I was talking to Mark, and Mark's like, what are you going to do? At this point, I had an offer to go back and teach and do some stuff at Holy Cross. I was going back to where I was. Mark's like, do you want to come cover the A's for the Athletic? And I was like, I don't really want to cover baseball in my head, but of course I'm like, yes, I do, because I want a job. And when Zion happened, he's like, something good's going to happen. That was a Tuesday night.
I think so, yeah.
By Saturday, ESPN had made contact, and we started talking.
Wow.
Took 4 months, but I got hired, and it was let's see how this goes. I got hired on a 9-month contract the first time that ran out in the middle of a pandemic. So negotiating the next deal was certainly fun, but I took that 9-month contract. They gave it to me for a full year, and I got 2 deals out of that before being able to come here.
I just remember the 3 of us looking at each other like, did that just happen?
Yeah.
Did they just win the lottery? Did
Never forget it.
Because it was just surreal.
I remember because Alvin's in the back, and I remember him we're interviewing Griff near the stage, and it's like 7-8 people deep, and we're interviewing, and I just remember like somebody just shoving me out the way, and I turned to be like, "Hey, what?" And it's Alvin just coming in to just hug Griff.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, cool. Like, understandable.
It's incredible, really, what moments like that mean. And I love this perspective of it too, because a lot of times we look at that moment, what it meant for the franchise, what it meant for Zion, what it meant for the city of New Orleans, what it meant for other players, coaches, staff, front office personnel, whatever. But to hear it from a different perspective, because you saw it completely different. While you guys were there. I'm a huge plane freak, and I know this is going to bore a lot of people, but the president was taking off, and I'm outside. I'll show you the video. There goes Air Force One. I have the door open, and I hear somebody yelling inside, "We just won the lottery. We're getting Zion." I'm like, what? And I'm seriously watching Air Force One go above my house. Then I run inside, and there they're all, and then I see, the logo. I'm like, that is incredible, because at the time I was still doing, obviously, my talk show. And one of the things, Jim, that I would do before every single Duke game, I would be like, by the way, tonight at 6:30, Duke taking on somebody. I mean, it was almost a running joke. I was like, I would love to have this guy.
That happened.
Yes,
confirmed.
Yeah, I was like, by the way, Andrew, what's tonight?
Yeah.
You might want to go see Duke because he was must-watch television at the time. So it's crazy to kind of hear that and now look at it now. And we'll get to obviously what it was like just to hear him day one of training camp here at Nashville and 6 years later. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. But
by the way, one of the funniest parts to me when I think back to the reaction that people had after that lottery was it really kind of crystallized for me who liked me and who didn't, because the people who associated me with the Pelicans, because they know that I've been here for a long time, like the day after the lottery, there was people that were like, "Hey man, congratulations, this is awesome." And I have a friend who I prearranged a post-lottery dinner with, works for another team in the lottery, and he was like, his team obviously didn't win the lottery and dropped, and he was like so bitter, so angry. He's like, "Oh, great. Yeah, you won the lottery. We've been in the lottery 8 times and haven't won it." So
there it is. There's Griff with the envelope, right?
Yeah.
The very next photo, there it is.
It's Air Force
I'm
One.
telling you, here it is. That's Air Force One going over the house.
That was a picture, just for those at home, that was a picture of Griff on television. Like, he took a picture of the television.
Yeah.
And the very next thing is Air Force One flying over his house.
I'm learning new stuff about you all the time, Gus. I did not know you were such an aerospace guy.
Yeah, I don't know if the government likes to know that. I kind of know when the Air Force One takes off or lands. But, no, it's crazy when you think of all the different aspects of it and where you are and where the franchise is to now. And, one of the things that we even saw yesterday, one of the beauties of the positions that we're in, Griff walks in yesterday and just starts talking. NBA and basketball with us and everything, and the position
playing our our version of who he played for.
But the position that we are, and I want to get into kind of some specifics about this team, because it is what we're going to be covering in excitement, but where the Pels are right now. I mean, this is legit. This isn't, hey, we're trying to talk them up. They can maybe have a good year. This team is talented. Yep. This team has star level power. This team can compete in the Western Conference. Like, 6 years ago to now, the Pelicans franchise, for Pels fans listening, are where?
It's to me, it's in so much of a better place right now, I think, just talent-wise, depth-wise. You're looking at a team who, under Willie Green, they have improved their win total every year. I think 36, 42, 49. And there's no reason to think it can't happen again. I know it's tough. I mean, once you get to around 49 in the West right now, there's some years 49 in the West might mean you're in third, because there's 2 teams at 49, 3 teams at 48, a team at 46 who's somehow 7th or 8th or something.
Right.
I mean, we're coming off a year where a team went 41 and 41 and missed the play-in. That might get you 6th or 7th in the East right now, depending on how some things shake out. Maybe 8th or 9th in the East. It's definitely going to get you. I mean, there could be a team with 34 wins, 35 wins, who's going to be in contention for the final play-in spot in the East this year. you're probably going to have a winning record to do it in the West. So the margin for error in the West is so small, because just as much as 49 gets you third, 49 can get you eighth. 49 can get. I mean, that's where they were last year, is in the play-in tournament. They were seventh at 49 wins. So getting another win or two is nice, but it still might get you. It might get you sixth. It might get you fifth. So it's a very delicate balance. But you see the depth on this team. You see everything that this team has been put together. We've seen these first days of practices. Some of those lineups that they're using are, I think, going to be very, very good on the defensive end. I think there's some lineups out there where they can throw out. I think everybody has at least a 6'10" wingspan, starting with DeJounte Murray. If you do one, I think there's one. We don't have an official Daniel Tice wingspan on record. I'm gonna go ahead and say he's 7 foot just to make my point for a second. He would be like DeJounte would be the smallest out there at 6'10".
Wingspan, yeah.
Brandon's at 7'3". Herb's at 7, a little over 7 foot. Trey's at 7 foot. Z's at 6'10". Tice is probably pushing 7 foot. So there's some interesting long lineups that you could put out there, hands everywhere, and kind of we've seen that with DeJounte already as he's kind of really starting to lock back in on the defensive end. There's some intriguing lineups that we can see this year that are could be the difference between that 1 or 2 wins that could completely shift where you are in the Western Conference.
Last thing for me, I know that the roster has changed a little bit this season, and more so than the last 2-3 years. But you've covered this team for multiple years now. Kind of wanted to go behind the scenes and pull back the curtain a little bit. How much do you look forward to just the interaction with so many guys on this team that are just fun people to talk to, like people that you've developed relationships with?
It's kind of sneak preview into some of our interviews we did on Media Day, kind of like some of the packages that we're building for games. But Trey Murphy had me in tears. Brandon Ingram had me in tears. Like Jose, like we're just laughing. Like, this is such a good group of guys, and even these new pieces are still really good guys. Had a very good conversation with Carlo when he came in. DeJounte is obviously fitting in. We've seen him kind of the on the court and the off the court so far. We've seen him a couple of times pulling Zion aside already and saying, "Hey, this is where I want you to be. Expect this pass now."
Yeah.
We've seen a couple of times where he's thrown a pass to Z,
not ready yet,
and he's just not there just yet. And he's like, "Hey, I can get it there. You just got to trust me to get it there." They'll have a little bit of a conversation, and the next time we go down, it works. Very excited to see that on the court, but very excited to deal with these guys off the court as well, because I think that's going to be, just even more fun to kind of develop those relationships with these guys even more. For these guys that I've talked to. I've talked to CJ. I've talked to Herb. I've talked to Trey. A lot of these guys that have kind of been on the team for a little while. So excited to be around them a little bit more.
By the way, quickly too, has anyone mentioned anything to you yet, or were you still in disguise in terms of like, hey man, you're with us now?
So we did have a little bit of a Griff let the team know. I think the first night of camp here. Hey, this guy that you made from that's media. He's going to be around in places you're not supposed to see media because he's not outside media anymore. He belongs to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Good.
Talked to Z yesterday. Z gave me a good welcome to the team. So they're aware now. It's not I try to make sure I'm wearing the Pels stuff as much as possible.
That helps for me too.
Just jog the memory a little bit.
Right.
Like, hey guys. Like
I felt that.
That's right. When I will say when I saw CJ when we walked into so CJ was the first guy we had in our interview session. Like, CJ knows me, but you could see CJ's like wheels turning like early on a media day. Like,
what are you doing?
You're not supposed to be here. Like, is this an ESPN room? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I work for you guys. He goes, oh, okay. And then so there was a couple of those on Monday at media.
Yeah,
day.
Just wear the Pels gear. It helps because when I first started there as well, no, you're on the other side.
Griff, get me more Pels gear. I need more Pels gear. Make this easier for me.
Yeah, make it a lot easier for you. Got about 3 minutes here. I just kind of want to do like a rapid fire sort of thing, because you have worked for a network and you understand what those meetings are like and what those discussions are like. It's a very star-driven league and all those things. So when you say this is a good group of guys, that's not the norm. It's hard for that, because you do have players that are understanding of the spotlight, how you build your brand, how you have all those different aspects of it. But you've also covered teams that have won and have won championships, or been in organizations like the Spurs. And it's about, we know you got your brand, we know you got your name. Do you want to win? Do you want to do what it takes to win? What was it like to cover the Spurs for that year, to kind of see behind the scenes more than we have, what it's like to be, as Graf likes to call them, the pop roaches? I mean, they don't go away, and they're constantly there. I mean, you saw how they ended the year last year, man.
That's
right?
so bad.
Yeah, pop roaches.
I will say this. It is, you got to see a different culture, how they were kind of going about things. Spurs culture, pounding the rock, as they say. They're doing everything for the team. That's very much, it's ingrained in them. And it's so much so that whenever you have a guy who is embracing a new six-man role, who's been a starter for a long time, media will then go to Pop and say, hey, what was it like when you told Manu he had to come off the bench, when Manu was probably the second best player on the team, and you told him he had to come off the bench? And Pop says, well, he didn't want to do it, but we did it for the team, and da-da-da-da. But it's like, if anybody does that, you go talk to Pop about it, because they set that standard. And it was a nice peek behind that curtain. I'll tell you what, especially now that I'm wearing these colors, there's going to be some battles. That's going to be some fun games down the line. Victor Wembanyama is a serious player. He's a monster. That Spurs tradition is in place. It was kind of a nice structure for him. Mm-hmm. That's going to be some battles, man. I don't want to go. I don't want to spend a lot of time in San Antonio in the playoffs in the next few years.
Have you already circled that on your calendar? Do you know when the first Spurs Pelicans game is?
December something, because there's a few games that I know I'm probably not making. Mm-hmm. Whether that be late December or early January.
Gotcha. Okay.
We shall see. I will say I do have it on my phone. The background of my phone is the Pels schedules, because I have those questions so much. This is it right here. Nice. December 8th is the first. Okay. I wanted to say 8th too, and I didn't. And I was like, no. December 8th is the first game.
Look, we're very happy to have you on board, man. I know Jim's happy here as well. Not only TV, but you'll be part of our podcast here as well. Be doing all different aspects of it. More importantly, man, you want to hear from Pels fans, don't you?
Absolutely. You know where to find me. _Andrew_Lopez, Instagram, the former Twitter machine, whatever you want to call it nowadays. You know where to find me. You can always reach me.
All right. Well, I know where to reach you now, because we got to get to the bus, so we got to wrap this up.
Bus is leaving in
very soon, and I got to get out of here to the airport. Andrew, always a pleasure, man. I can't wait. I'm so happy you're part of the team. Thank you for joining us today,
Thanks,
man.
Andrew.
Thanks for having me,
Jim,
guys.
You know I love you too.
Oh, you don't even have to say it, Gus. It's
that
just
is
unspoken.
True. Well, the next time you hear from us will be one more day of training camp updates, and then it'll be preseason. And we'll tip it off underway as the Pels take on the Magic Monday over at the Smoothie King Center, where you can actually see Andrew Lopez observing the game. As always, appreciate you for tuning us in on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, the official podcast of your New Orleans Pelicans. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast. Join us 3 times per week on Pelicans.com, the Pelicans mobile app, the iHeartRadio app, or where you get your podcasts. And be sure to give Jim and Gus a follow on X at Jim_Eichenhofer and GCat_17. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast.